Welcome to AskPrep. Today, we delve into one of the most fascinating chapters of modern history: Advent of Europeans. This video is designed to help UPSC and IS aspirants better understand the significance of Europeans. The story of European advent in India is a fascinating chapter in our history, one that laid the foundation for centuries of colonial rule. But it all began with a quest primarily for trade, power, and profit. India, during the medieval period, was a land of immense wealth. Its spices, textiles, and precious stones were highly sought after in European markets. However, reaching India was no easy task due to overland trade routes being long, expensive, and dominated by intermediaries like the Arabs and Ventians. This pushed European powers to explore alternate sea routes to the east. The first to succeed were the Portuguese, led by Vasco da Gama. In 1498, he landed at Calicut on the western coast of India. This historic voyage marked the beginning of direct European contact with India via the sea. The Portuguese established trading posts in places like Goa, Diu, and Daman, focusing on the lucrative spice trade. Over time, they consolidated their presence and used their naval power to control the Arabian Sea and the Indian Ocean. But the Portuguese were not alone for long. Soon, other European powers, like the Dutch, the British, and the French, entered the fray. Each had its eyes on India's riches, and they competed fiercely to establish dominance. The Dutch East India Company, established in 1602, quickly made its mark. Unlike the Portuguese, who sought religious conversion alongside trade, the Dutch were primarily focused on commerce. They set up trading posts along the eastern coast and controlled parts of Bengal. However, their ambitions in India waned as they concentrated more on Southeast Asia. Then came the British, who would leave an indelible mark on India's history. The English East India Company was formed in 1600 and initially faced stiff competition from the Portuguese and the Dutch. But through strategic alliances and military interventions, they gradually outpaced their rivals. A turning point came with the Battle of Plassey in 1757, where Robert Clive's victory over the Nawab of Bengal marked the beginning of British territorial expansion in India. The French were also significant players during this time. The French East India Company, established in 1664, established key trading posts such as Pondicherry, Chandernagore, and Mahe. Under leaders like Dupleix, the French attempted to extend their influence by forming alliances with Indian rulers. However, the Anglo-French rivalry in India led to a series of conflicts known as the Carnatic Wars. The British emerged victorious, significantly diminishing French ambitions in India. By the end of the 18th century, French influence was restricted to a few small enclaves. By the late 18th century, the Portuguese influence had diminished, the Dutch had shifted focus elsewhere, and the French presence was limited to a few enclaves. The British East India Company, on the other hand, had become the dominant power, ruling vast territories in India. The British followed with the establishment of the English East India Company in 1600. Initially, the British concentrated on trade and established factories at Surat, Madras, Bombay, and Calcutta. However, their ambitions grew with time. Through strategic diplomacy, military intervention, and exploitation of internal rivalries among Indian rulers, the British began to expand their territorial control. A significant turning point was the Battle of Plassey in 1757, where Robert Clive led the British East India Company to victory against the Nawab of Bengal, Sirajuddaula. This victory gave the British control over Bengal, marking the beginning of their dominance in India. Over the next century, the company expanded its territories, becoming the de facto ruler of large parts of India. The Portuguese were the pioneers in this endeavor. In 1498, Vasco da Gama successfully reached the port of Calicut on the Malabar coast, opening a direct maritime link between Europe and India. The Portuguese quickly established their dominance over the spice trade by setting up trading posts in Goa, Diu, and Daman. They also fortified their naval power in the Indian Ocean, controlling key sea routes. Goa, in particular, became their administrative and commercial hub. However, the Portuguese influence began to wane in the 17th century due to competition from other European powers. But what drove these European powers to such lengths? Beyond trade, the quest for political dominance was critical. Control over Indian territories meant control over resources, markets, and strategic trade routes. This interplay of commerce and conquest eventually led to the establishment of colonial rule in India. For UPSC aspirants, understanding the advent of Europeans is essential. It not only explains the foundation of colonialism, but also highlights the dynamics of global trade, naval power, and the decline of India's pre-colonial political systems. As we reflect on this era, it is a reminder of how interconnected the world has always been and how trade, technology, and ambition shaped the destiny of nations. India's history with the Europeans is a complex narrative of exploitation, adaptation, and resilience. And while their arrival marked a period of subjugation, it also set the stage for India's eventual awakening to freedom. Thank you for watching this detailed exploration of the advent of Europeans. At AskPrep, we are committed to bringing you content that not only enhances your knowledge but also aids in your preparation journey. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to AskPrep for more insightful videos on Indian history and other key UPSC topics.